On my previous video of this topic, I mainly looked at if there were any potential vitamin or mineral deficiencies that would arise from this keto trend or vegan movement.
You just say what I think you said, eh, boy?
I did just say that. Fuck off, please. I don't stand corrected at all because, well, blood is on the wall and it will be revealed eventually. But that's a different topic in of itself, and that's not what this video is about.
Stay tuned in the near future for a video on a super juicy topic.
So this video will be broken down in regards to the health implications of going on a ketogenic diet or a vegan lifestyle. We'll start with the ketogenic diet. To begin, the ketogenic diet is primarily a fat-based diet that constitutes 70 to 80% of calories come from fat, 10 to 20% of calories come from protein, and the final 5 to 10% of calories come from carbohydrates. So as you can see, the primary point of the ketogenic diet is to obtain a state of ketosis by extremely limiting carbohydrate intake and having high amounts of fat intake. This will force the body to produce ketones and use those ketones as its primary source of energy rather than carbohydrates. This is an actual state. This is what is known as being in a state of ketosis. And yes, I have been in a state of ketosis before, and honestly, it's kind of overrated. The distribution of the macronutrient intake will be adjusted per the individual based on the activity level and the genetics of that individual to maintain a state of ketosis. We can now move on to the potential health implications of the keto diet now that we know what the objective is. Being that this diet is extremely high in the consumption of dietary fat, it is almost inevitable to avoid the high amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol that is associated with high-fat foods that come from animal products, to include meat, obviously, and dairy products, certain nuts, and oils. So as we can see from this systematic review and meta-analysis, low carbohydrate diets were associated with a significantly higher risk of all-cause mortality, and they were not significantly associated with a risk of cardiovascular disease mortality and incidence. However, this analysis is based on limited observational studies and large-scale trials on the complex interactions between low carbohydrates and long-term outcomes are needed. I mean, of course, more testing and analysis is needed. I mean, seriously, do you know anyone who has been following a strict ketogenic diet since childbirth or since their infancy and is now living well into their 60s, 70s, and 80s? I don't. So the study mentioned an increased risk of cardiovascular disease was not associated with this study. Now, this is a highly heated debate on whether saturated fat and dietary cholesterol cause coronary heart disease. And I'm here to say, without a doubt, that excess consumption of saturated fat and dietary cholesterol are definitely the primary factors to increase your risk of coronary heart disease based on the evidence. Saturated fat and dietary cholesterol increase low-density lipoprotein, also known as LDL cholesterol, particles in the blood if consumed in high amounts. The increase in an individual's LDL or serum LDL cholesterol level will depend on the individual's current LDL cholesterol levels and the amount of dietary cholesterol and saturated fat that individual has consumed. As you may know already, LDL cholesterol is known as the bad cholesterol. It is known as the bad cholesterol because it promotes osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is the narrowing of arteries due to plaque buildup. Elevated LDL cholesterol levels is the main driver for this plaque buildup. Anyone just hear that? I know I just dropped a bomb on you keto folk, but let me just tell you, before you pull up your industry-funded studies proving that saturated fat and dietary cholesterol consumption do not increase serum blood cholesterol, let me just say, take a breath, relax, take a seat, and allow me the pleasure to pull up a study that supports your keto diet. Which, by the way, I think is not funded by industry. Or at least it appears that way.
And you wish upon a star.
According to a study that was completed in the fall of 2004, 83 obese participants were put on a 24-week ketogenic diet. The purpose of this study was to see the effects of this diet on obese individuals by analyzing body weight, BMI, total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, HDL cholesterol, triglycerides, fasting blood sugar, urea, and creatinine levels at the 8, 16, and 24-week markers of the testing time. For the sake of the point that I'm trying to get across, I'm going to keep the focus primarily on the cholesterol levels of the participants as the main factor in terms of increasing cardiovascular disease. So let's take a closer look at the study, or let's take a look at the results of this study. If we look at the results from the study, there was a significant drop in LDL cholesterol levels among all the participants from the start to the end of the study. Sounds like a win, right? Well, let's take a closer look. Let's begin by establishing what healthy LDL cholesterol levels should be at. So according to the CDC, healthy LDL cholesterol levels should be lower than 100 milligrams per deciliter. And pretty much the general consensus seems to agree with this. But the Journal of American Cardiology would slightly disagree, as their study shows that 50 to 70 milligrams per deciliter is optimal. I think these are two solid resources, but if you want to refute that, please feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. So now that we know what healthy cholesterol levels, LDL cholesterol levels, should be at, let's look back at the study that we were originally looking at. Upon the beginning of the study, the average serum LDL cholesterol levels among the participants was 158 milligrams per deciliter. So high LDL cholesterol, which puts them at at a higher risk for cardiovascular disease. So by week 24, the average LDL cholesterol levels of the participants was 131 milligrams per deciliter. I mean, does anyone see the issue here? Their LDL cholesterol levels were still super high. They were 31 points higher than what the CDC recommends, and just about double than what the American Journal of Cardiology recommends. So their cholesterol levels were so high that they were still at risk for coronary heart disease. Now you may say, well, then cholesterol levels did drop. And I would say, yes, you're right. Their LDL level, cholesterol levels did improve. But let's face the facts here. I mean, it's very common for an obese individual's blood markers to improve when they lose weight. And all the participants did lose weight. So it wasn't necessarily the ketogenic diet that lowered their LDL cholesterol levels. It was primarily the weight loss that caused this, not the ketogenic diet. If anything, the ketogenic diet probably kept their LDL cholesterol levels higher than what they should have been due to the excess consumption of saturated fat and dietary cholesterol. But that's okay. If you don't believe me, then here's Dr. Greger to push the point a little bit further.
But we can also look at all the big randomized controlled cholesterol-lowering trials. This is graphing the progression of atherosclerosis versus LDL cholesterol. More cholesterol, more atherosclerosis. But if you draw a line down through the points, you can estimate that the LDL level at which there is zero progression is down around an LDL cholesterol of 70. You can do the same with studies preventing heart attacks in the first place. 0 coronary heart disease events might be reached down around 55, and those who've already had a heart attack and trying to prevent a second one might need to push their LDL levels even lower. Atherosclerosis is endemic in our population, in part because the average person's LDL cholesterol is up around 130, approximately twice the normal physiologic level.
Thanks, bro. So case in point, the ketogenic diet promotes osteoporosis, the main driver for coronary heart disease when high amounts of dietary saturated fat and cholesterol are consumed. If you want to refute that, then please present a study to me showing that participants were able to maintain LDL cholesterol levels below 70 milligrams per deciliter following a ketogenic diet. Because I have yet to see that. I have never seen it. I would love to see it, because I think it's impossible, but, you know. Thank you so much. So I think I've provided enough evidence in regards to the potential health implications of a ketogenic diet. So what about a plant-based vegan lifestyle? What are the potential health implications with that?
Dude, get ready for this one.
According to a study titled Beyond Meatless, the health effects of vegan diets, finding from the Adventist cohorts from a journal named Nutrients, vegans experienced a 73% higher risk for urinary tract cancer compared to non-vegetarians. I mean, that's seriously all I can find. I can't find any actual studies that show any negative findings other than the one I just stated. I mean, I've heard of anecdotal experiences of people who have gone vegan and they ended up getting sick, but I'll get to that in a sec. The science shows that a whole foods, plant-based diet is loads more beneficial than that of an omnivore diet, and by far more healthy than that of a ketogenic diet in regards to decreasing the risk of cardiovascular disease, lowering cancer risk, decreasing risk of diabetes, and lowering all-cause mortality. If you can refute this, please do. I encourage you to do so. But if you do, please provide the studies and links to those studies as I have done. I honestly do not give a shit about how your friend went vegan and ended up in the hospital or any other miscellaneous vegan horror story that is purely anecdotal. I mean, by no means am I not telling you to not share your story. If you have one, please do. Just don't use it as a basis to refute scientific studies. So since I can't find much, I guess I'll just state some of the common mistakes that people make when they go vegan and which could potentially get them sick. Plant-based whole foods are very satiating and relatively low in calories, with the exception of nuts, seeds, and oils. But the majority of plant-based whole foods, such as fruits, vegetables, legumes, etc., are not necessarily the most densest sources of calories. So when switching to a plant-based whole food vegan lifestyle, it is probably best to count your calories, at least initially, if you have a tendency to undereat. Undereating calories to the point where you've reached an unhealthy body fat percentage will disrupt the production of hormones, affect the absorption of vitamins and minerals, disrupt sleep, and a whole slew of other issues that will have a detrimental impact on your health. So it is absolutely imperative you get enough calories when switching over to a plant-based vegan lifestyle. B12 deficiency can be a major issue when switching over to a plant-based vegan lifestyle. The easiest way to overcome this issue is by consuming fortified plant-based milk products such as soy milk, almond milk, cashew milk, rice milk, coconut milk, etc., etc. Or if you don't want to drink any plant-based fortified milk products, then there's always fortified foods such as cereal. And if you don't want to do any of those options, there's always supplementation if necessary. Another potential deficiency in nutrition, if it is not planned accordingly when doing a plant-based vegan diet, could come from the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that are EPA and DHA. Now, EPA and DHA are sourced from marine algae. The short-chain omega-3 fatty acids, ALA, can be consumed as the precursor to the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, from sources such as flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, and a few other sources, but the conversion over to the long-chain DHA and EPA omega-3 fatty acids may not be efficient depending on an individual's current omega-3 to omega-6 consumption ratio and other factors such as their gender, their age, their dietary composition, and their current health status may also play a role in that conversion from short-chain omega-3 fatty acids to long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. Now, there are two ways to overcome this potential deficiency in regards to the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. One way is, as I said, is to make sure that your omega-6 to omega-3 ratios aren't too off. I think about the recommended amount should be for every 4 grams of omega-6, you should be taking at least 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acid. Or you can just take a microalgae supplement to bypass all the crap and toxins that are in fish, because as you know, we've destroyed our oceans. But and if you're still even concerned past that, there's still no actual potential health concerns in regards to DHA and EPA deficiencies that have shown up in the research, because more research is still needed. Now, again, if you're still even concerned after that, the best way to actually identify if you have a DHA deficiency is to get a blood test and see if your levels are low. And if they are low and you want to correct your EPA DHA deficiency, just try fixing your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio or take a supplement if you want to do it following a plant-based vegan lifestyle. But that's really the only way to find out if you're deficient, is to just get a blood test. Many oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which compete with the absorption rate of omega-3 fatty acids, which is why it is optimal to have an omega-6 to omega-3 consumption ratio of about 4 to 1. Additionally, oils can be very calorically dense, and it is very simple to overconsume them without even really noticing, which can easily put you in an accidental, consistent caloric surplus over time. So tracking and potentially even limiting these calorically dense oils can be helpful in maintaining a healthy body fat percentage. So that's about it. I know I got super sciencey with this topic, but I felt it was necessary. So now, the big question, which one's better? And hands down, if we look at the science, it has to be the vegan lifestyle. I mean, come on, guys. There's an overwhelming amount of science to back this up, and it seems to be the natural way that humans are supposed to eat. Now, if you disagree with me, I completely understand. Please let me know, but make sure to back up your claims with reputable sources. Greatly appreciated. So let me know in the comment sections down below if you agree, disagree, and I'll gladly get back to you as soon as possible, and I greatly appreciate it nonetheless. So in the meantime, if you could please do your boy a favor and make sure to hit that thumbs up button, make sure to subscribe so I can keep you updated on the weekly. I'm the Natural Hulkster. I want to thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for the next one.